In this video, I will share with you the different types of vegan diets that are out there, and I will also share with you my professional opinion about those diets as a vegan nutritionist. So keep watching. Hello everyone, I'm Jessica Carb. I'm a vegan health coach for women and menstrual cycle expert, and I'm very excited to share this with you today, okay? I have been a coach for a while now and a vegan nutritionist for a while, but before I was a vegan nutritionist and a coach, I have tried so many different vegan diets that are out there. I've tried vegan keto, I've tried fruitarian, I tried low carb, high carb, I've tried intermittent fasting. So if there is one thing that I haven't tried, please let me know. I never did a juice cleanse because I cannot do this. I have to eat. But I've tried things before. And today I really want to share with you those different types of diets. I will explain to you how every diet looks like, and I will also share with you why it's probably not a good idea for you to do that type of diet or to go on this type of diet. So the first diet that I want to talk about is the vegan keto diet. Of course, you also can do the keto diet in a non-vegan way, which is more the traditional way of going keto, but there's also a way of doing it on a vegan diet. So a ketogenic diet is pretty much a term of a low carb diet. So the idea is that you get most of your calories from the protein and the fat that you consume and less from the carbohydrates that you're eating. What you do is you cut back most of the carbs that are easy to digest, like sugar, sodas, pastries, and white bread. Now, how does it work? How does a ketogenic diet work? When you eat less than 50 grams of your calories from carbohydrates, your body will eventually run out of fuel. We get our energy from the carbohydrates that we consume. And so when we stop eating them, your body is going to start to break down protein and fat for energy instead, which in turn can make you lose weight. And this state is called ketosis. Now, sometimes I have people that ask me, can you do it on a vegan diet? And yes, you can. So also on a vegan diet, you try to consume around 35 grams to 50 grams of your calories from carbohydrates only, not more than that. When you eat vegetables, you want to make sure they're super low carb. So anything from kale, mushrooms, broccoli, and spinach. You also should be getting around 70% of your calories from plant-based fats like coconut, nuts, and seeds. And 25% of those calories you should be getting from vegan protein like tofu. When you're doing the vegan keto diet, you're not allowed to eat grains, legumes, sugar like agave or maple syrup. You're also not allowed to eat fruit like apples and bananas because they're a lot higher in carbohydrates and sugar. And you also are not allowed to eat things like potatoes. Even when I say this out loud, the reason why I do not recommend this is it is not a sustainable diet. Okay, it is not sustainable. This is not a long-term solution. This is rather a short-term solution. And yes, in the short term, I have seen people lose weight. But what I see a lot of times is once people stop with a ketogenic diet, they actually gain the weight back on. And that's not really sustainable. So rather than going on a keto diet, learn how to eat a balanced nutrition. We can talk about this at the end of the video as well. Also, for people that are coming from a background of an eating disorder or, a unhealthy relationship with food, this type of way of eating can really mess with your relationship with food as well, and something that I would definitely recommend to stay away from. Now, the second reason why I don't recommend a keto diet is the keto flu. So a lot of times what we can see is that once the body is depleted from its carb stores and your body switches to using ketones instead, your body is starting to use that fat for fuel. At the start of changing your eating, a lot of people are experiencing flu-like symptoms like dizziness, headaches, fatigue, constipation. That is pretty much a sign that your body is changing. And in my opinion, again, this is not normal. This shouldn't be happening. If you're eating well, your body shouldn't be feeling like this. And again, I've experienced this myself too. When I went vegan keto, I had the same thing. Within just a couple of days, I felt so horrible. I was not only extremely exhausted, but I was shaking, I was dizzy, I felt like I wasn't able to think straight anymore. And so that's something that is not worth it for me. A lot of times what you can also see when people go keto is that they start to have digestive issues and their gut health starts to go crazy. The reason for it is because it's a little bit more difficult to meet your fiber needs when you are going on a keto diet. Now, usually you see this more when it's not done on a vegan diet, because we still, on a vegan diet, you can still get in a little bit more fiber than on a non-vegan diet. But you want to make sure you have a healthy gut. So important to make sure you're healthy, you have a healthy digestion. And when you go keto, again, your body's gonna go crazy and your body will not be able to work properly. It can really mess with your immune system, it can mess with your mental health, and also it can really increase your inflammation in your body as well. Another reason why I don't recommend the keto diet is because of nutrient deficiencies. I mean, I don't need to tell you, when you're cutting out so many food groups out of your diet, you're gonna be nutrient deficient in some kind of way. On this channel, I'm mainly talking to women anyways, but especially as women, we want to make sure we're getting enough nutrients in through many different sources. And when we don't, it's very easy to become nutrient deficient, and that can really also mess with our hormonal health. Now, the last thing, which probably is even the most important thing for me, since I work with women only, is that your blood sugar is gonna go very low. And for women, for a healthy menstrual cycle and a good hormonal health, it's very important that our blood sugar is balanced, which means that we can only achieve this by eating balanced nutrition. We're making sure we're eating enough carbohydrates. And when we don't, it can really mess with our hormonal health. Something that I would never recommend for women. We need carbs to feel good, to be healthy. And I'm not saying to eat carbs only, but to really learn how to create a balanced diet. So the second diet or trend that I want to talk about is intermittent fasting. And I know there will probably be a lot of people that say intermittent fasting is really good for you and you should do this and all of this. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because yes, there is a lot of research out there that really supports the benefits of intermittent fasting. The truth is also that there are also controversial opinions about this. But let's first discuss, okay, what is intermittent fasting really? So intermittent fasting is pretty much an eating pattern where you cycle between eating for a certain amount of time and not eating for a certain amount of time. Now, intermittent fasting doesn't say anything about which foods to eat and which foods to not eat or avoid. It's more so about the type of break that you have in between your meals or in between a time that you're not eating anything at all. And there are many different ways of how intermittent fasting can be done. Some people do it for days or for weeks. Some people do it for only a certain amount of hours. There is many different, ways of how to intermittent fast. Now, the truth is most people fast anyways, because when we go to sleep, we're usually not eating for a certain amount of time. And that's the natural way of fasting and the healthy way of fasting. But of course, some people fast in a way where they skip breakfast. I think the most famous way of fasting is fasting, for example, for 16 hours and eating for the rest of the hours in the day. Now, again, as a coach, nutritionist that works with women only, I do not recommend intermittent fasting to women. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first reason is that women respond differently to intermittent fasting than men. Even in the hunter-gatherer time, many years ago, women's bodies responded differently to times of fasting. And what actually happened is that women's metabolisms would slow down to conserve energy and store fat in order to survive. What you can guess out of this is that for women's bodies, intermittent fasting does not work the same as for men, and actually it does the opposite effect. So when I see women that say, oh, I just want to lose weight and I'm gonna do intermittent fasting, maybe in the short run, it will give you some benefits, but most women actually experience that their bodies will start to store fat because their bodies think, oh, we are in famine, something is off, I'm gonna be storing fat instead. Now, I'm also talking about making sure that you remember everybody is different. You have to also remember it depends how much weight we're speaking about, right? So if of course I work with overweight women or women that are slightly overweight or women that just want to lose the last 1 to 2 pounds, there is a slight difference on how each body will react. But just keep in mind that our bodies are not meant to help you lose weight when you're fast for a very long time. There are a lot of studies as well that show adverse effects to intermittent fasting. So Sarah Gottfried, in her book, The Hormone Reset Diet, also states that people that have blood sugar issues should stay away from intermittent fasting because it can cause blood sugar imbalances. In addition to that, you also have to remember that most of the studies done on intermittent fasting have been done on men and not on women. So here again, there's just not enough yet research or evidence done on women that intermittent fasting is really the way to go. Also remember that when we fast, it increases our cortisol levels, and which therefore, through an elevated baseline of cortisol, it is responsible for increasing your fat storage as well. So when cortisol is elevated for a long time, which is caused by high amounts of stress, it can also turn into adrenal fatigue. Talking about all of this, again, just like the keto diet, this can really mess with your hormonal health. This can mess with your blood sugar imbalances. This can just do a lot of harm rather than good. According to Alyssa Vitti, who is the author of the Flow book, she recommends not a longer than 12-hour period fast, which is usually, when you have your last meal in the evening and then you wake up in the morning. That's usually the safest way to fast for most women. Okay, so the next diet that I want to speak about is the so-called high-carb, low-fat diet. So a high-carb, low-fat diet, as a vegan, pretty much describes that the majority of the calories that you get from food is from starchy, high carbohydrate foods like potatoes, rice, or pasta. So some people say 80% of your calories should be coming from carbs, 10% of calories should be coming from protein, and the other 10% from fat. So this can be achieved by eating small amounts of fat and small amounts of protein. So how to do it is you want to focus on foods such as, grains like oats, pasta, millet, bread, root vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, beets, fruits such as bananas, apples, mangoes, pineapple, and dates, and legumes such as black beans, chickpeas, lentils, or peas. I think that the approach of this diet is pretty good because, in my opinion, this is a very healthy way of eating. You're getting a lot of beautiful nutrients in. You are not scared of carbohydrates, and carbs are our best friend for sure. And there are a lot of doctors out there, I think vegan doctors that promote this type of diet. And generally, I don't have a lot against this diet. Now, another thing that I want to say though is I've done this diet before, and I've had multiple clients that have done this type of diet before. And I have noticed a couple of things that really messed with me when I did this type of diet. Firstly, coming from an eating disorder and disordered eating, actually this type of diet really enhanced my eating disorder in a way, because I've seen a lot of people promote this diet as a whole foods kind of diet approach. Eat as much as possible and you're not going to gain weight because you're going to feel full. And so I know there's, again, many different opinions out there. And I don't want to say that this diet is bad, but just always make sure, okay, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I just want to feel healthy and I want to lose weight and see if it works? Or am I doing this because I'm excited to eat more now and it's going to help me with my eating disorder? So it might help some people with their way of eating. It definitely didn't with me. It even made things worse. The second thing that actually ended up happening is that when you're eating such high carb meals, your digestion can go nuts as well. What that means is you're eating a lot of fiber. And when you're eating so much fiber, especially coming from, let's say, an omnivore diet to this type of diet, your body can go crazy. Your digestion can go crazy. You can feel extremely bloated. You can also feel like you're constantly hungry because carbohydrates are digested a lot quicker in the body. And so your blood sugar can go like this, making you feel hungrier a lot more in the long run. As women, that's why I usually do not recommend this diet only. I always recommend upping your protein and your fat intake because fat is extremely important for a healthy cycle. And I'm talking about healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, protein as well. Extremely important for a healthy hormonal cycle for women's health. And so getting most of your calories from carbohydrates can really mess with your hormones as well because your blood sugar is going to go crazy and there is not enough balance in those types of meals. And so I don't want to say carbs are the enemy, because carbs are important, as I said in the vegan keto part, but finding the balance, making sure you're eating more fat and protein is so important. And your carb intake should always make the majority out of your meals, but definitely, shouldn't be 80% or more. There are things that we cannot avoid. Sometimes you go out to eat and the meal consists of maybe carbohydrates or mainly carbohydrates, and that's totally fine. But the majority of meals, you want to make sure you find the balance of all of those 3 macronutrients. So that is my opinion, my professional opinion about this. Again, I've seen these things. I've been there. I've seen women really struggle with their health, with their hormonal health. And once they made sure they have more of a balanced approach to this, their cycles got better. They lost weight. It's also more sustainable in the long run. And then the next type of diet that I want to talk about is the fruitarian / the raw vegan diet. What is this type of diet? So there are some people who choose to follow a raw vegan diet, and it can be referred to the Fruitarian diet because most of the meals can consist of mainly fruit, but there is many different ways of doing that. So I wouldn't definitely just, say that for Fruitarian diet or the raw diet is kind of the same, because I could go into details even more, but it doesn't really matter for this video because it's kind of all the same. So raw veganism, for example, is a diet that does not involve any cooking. So no food is heated above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Foods are eaten fresh, dehydrated with low heat, or also fermented. This eating pattern is highly restrictive and it can come with many potential risks. The truth is, there is no scientifically proven benefits as to a raw vegan diet being better than any other type of diet. Because the truth is, it's very easy to fall short on protein, fat, B vitamin, calcium, and more. And yes, it might be possible to create a balanced diet with raw foods. There's no reason to do that because it's not very sustainable for most people. Today, there are a lot of ex-vegans that actually followed those raw diets and they complain about the downsides of veganism instead of actually really learning how to eat a balanced nutrition. And I'm not gonna share any names here, but if you've been in the vegan world for a long time, there's a lot of famous YouTubers and influencers that have been raw vegan for a while and then actually ended up getting very sick and nutrient deficient, and then they blamed it on the vegan diet, which is not fair towards this movement because they just didn't do it right. And instead of educating themselves about, what they might have done wrong, they have blamed it on the vegan diet, which is, again, not fair, in my opinion. Again, the risks include, not getting enough nutrients, not getting enough calories as well, which is crazy because you as women, we need enough calories to sustain, to have a healthy cycle, to be healthy, be able to think straight. And when you're eating raw foods, it's so easy to not get enough calories in, and it's also very hard. It's not sustainable if you travel, if you want to go out to eat. It's almost impossible to really follow this type of diet unless you're super prepared. You bring all of your boxes of food everywhere you go. I mean, that's just my opinion. And as I said as well, it's very unhealthy for hormonal health, right? You can become very nutrient deficient. You're not eating enough of what you need. You're not eating enough calories. So that's something what I would just really stay away from. And again, I'm saying it because I've tried it as well. I've been there. One of the worst decisions of my life because it really messed with my health. Some of you might be asking yourselves now, okay, Jess, now you mentioned all of these diets to us. So what am I supposed to eat? How am I supposed to eat? And the way that I teach vegan nutrition in my coaching program as well with my clients as a vegan nutritionist is a balanced approach. Learning how to really make sure you have balanced meals, you have your fat, your protein, your carbs in every meal that you're eating. This way, you're not only eating for your hormonal health, you're getting enough nutrients in, you're getting enough calories in. This is sustainable. When you travel, when you go out to eat, it's very easy to follow this type of approach. And it's also the best way for you to really, if your goal is, for example, weight loss, lose weight and keep it off. This is really the only way that is going to be sustainable for the rest of your life. And definitely, if you're interested, I can do another video where I dive deeper into how to eat this type of diet. Or if that sounds also interesting to you, I have my own coaching program. So I'm going to share the link right here in the show notes that you can check out. You can apply. We can get on a call and see if this is something that would be for you. Because the way that I coach my people is really for you to become your own expert of your own health, right? And I work with women only because I believe in the power of the menstrual cycle and of feminine energy and feminine health. So we really dive deeper into all of these aspects because it's very important for you as a woman to really understand, how do I nourish my body? How do I do this the right way? I also have a podcast, so you can check out all of it in the show notes as well. And if you have any topics, any suggestions about things that you would like me to talk about, please share with me. You can also do that on Instagram. Here's my handle, or you can also just comment down below. Make sure you also subscribe to this YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to me. And please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Sending you so much love, and until the next time, take care.